Hello, folks. I'm Ed Overstreet, and I am once again imaging the sun. There's quite a bit of activity, so let's head over there. Let me share my screen, and we'll see if we can't get over there. And whoops. Try again. Okay. There are a couple of things that I'm trying to do. Hang on a minute. I just disconnected my Wi-Fi connection, I think, but it's working. So one of the things I want to do is lower the exposure a little bit because it's awfully hot. And also, let's do a little focusing before we get to. Let's try going out first. I think that looks a little better. It's really hard to tell. Okay. There are one other thing. Let me get my reticle out as my reference point. Let's see. Let's move the sun down a bit. A little more. And set our reference point there. I want to be able to get this area, this region's very active with some swirling plasma that is acting up a good bit on the surface. But also, let me overexpose this. We have some solar flaring going on the rim, and I also want to get that. So uh, what I'm going to do is process this so that I get both. And I will show you how I do that in a later video. Actually, I have several videos up where I have this processing. So anyway, let's move our exposure back down to one of the problems I will definitely have in doing this is I'm going to have to babysit this mount um, so that, let me move this over so that I keep this centered in the crosshairs, because if I don't, there's going to be, let's lower those a little bit. If I don't, there's going to be some cropping, and I'm afraid it'll crop out some of my activity either down here or up here. So let me move the move up a little bit, or move the sun down, move the crosshairs up. And let's try it right there. Okay, I want to set up, this will be a morning shoot, and it's Sunspots flare for 42222. And let's pay attention to the focus. It looks like scene conditions are messing with me because it's kind of looks like it's going in and out of focus. I'm going to go ahead and start the capture. I go up to capture, start capture. I want 1,000 frames. I'd like to get 250 images. And I want 15 seconds between images. So let's get started. And down here, we're capturing at 110 frames per second, which is pretty quick. Now we have a 15-second pause, which gives me a chance to recenter if I need to. And I will need to. The mount is neither polar aligned or high in, and so I have a ton of backlash in both declination and RA, so I need to move that up just a tad. And over just a tad. And we're capturing. I might just go ahead and delete this. Too much movement. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cancel. I am going to delete it. Let's go down to planetary. And let's go to the last one. I'll delete them on a fly. Okay, let's head back up. And let's go back to capture. We want 248. Taken 2, and here we go. I hope to have 250 video files, each 1,000 frames. I'll keep about 15% of them, maybe 20. Scene is a little better so far. And try to time lapse this thing so that I have some activity on the surface as well as some activity here. I did a time lapse earlier this week that turned out pretty good. I've finished processing that, and there wasn't a lot of activity, but there was some, primarily on the surface, the sunspots. And we have 5 pictures in the can, and we're now capturing. You're looking at a live image of the sun on April 22, 2022. I'm using these crosshairs as a reference. For this sunspot, help keep it centered. We had a thin layer of clouds that kept me from starting earlier. I had hoped to start around 9 o'clock. So right now I have 2 hours and 10 minutes to do 250 frames. I doubt I'll get all those. We'll try. I love doing these time lapses, but when you sit for 2.5 hours babysitting them out, you're glad when they're done. then when you start processing them and they turn out good, you're glad you spent the time on them. I will stop the capture from time to time, taking note on how many I have remaining, and work on focus, because as the sun heats up the telescope, focus does change. To one capture, and we're now capturing 1,000 frames at 110 frames per second. Oop, scene went nuts there. Got real blurry. I really do prefer SharpCap over Fire Capture. Both software packages are just awesome to work with, but I started out using SharpCap, and I'm just the most familiar with that. I guess I'm more comfortable with all of its nuances. And so I lean to use it more than Fire Capture. I have good friends that are in the Roper Mountain astronomy that are, oops, I'm going to have to cancel. I don't want to capture, so stop capture, cancel, delete. Before I do that, let me put my crosshairs back here. Delete, and we need to delete this one, and let's go back, and let's move. Actually, we want to move up. And over. And up. I'm doing the wrong. Let me get it back here. Okay. And let's start again. We're going to go to capture, start capture, and we're at 230. And so let's start. I lost my crosshairs because I accidentally connected, or I clicked on another part of the, well, we've frozen up here. There we go. I'm going to move north just a little bit. Move the crosshairs up. And okay. Again, we're live imaging the sun. And we're chasing 250. Hope the clouds stay away, because the scene is looking pretty decent. I better not say anything. Because that can change on a dime. I'm using the Quark Chromosoher. I think I put that in the description of the video, but I call it the poor man's solar scope. But by the time you add the cost of a refractor to the chromosphere, you're spending about the same amount of money. But I really like what can be done with the Quark by Daystar. Good stuff. My hope is that I'll be able to get a good view of these solar flares as well as activity here. This region's been very active for the last 4 days, but this is the first day that the surface has been active. So my field of view limits me to in a lot of ways, so I'm kind of stuck. But today I'm able to get both this and one huge solar flare that's taking place right now. So if you're just tuning in, see how many we've taken. 31. See some birds flying by. Every now and then I'll have a jet cut across the surface. We're pretty close to the Greenville Spartanburg Airport. I use auto stacker for the stacking phase. I do that using a batch. Before I end the session, I will take some flat frames to get rid of some of these dust spots. Here's the one on the sensor. These are somewhere on the Quark Chromosoher or the IR UV cut filter. It's hard to keep them keep dust from accumulating. I leave my telescopes out 24/7, 365 days a year. There's a couple exceptions. In the summer, I bring them in, take them apart and re-grease them, clean them up. I paint the piers, clean off the pad, and just kind of do some housekeeping. The summer months around Spartanburg, South Carolina, have the threat of a thunderstorm almost every day, so I'm not doing a whole lot of imaging. I clearly won't image all night because of the threat of thunderstorms. You might go to bed with clear skies and wake up to thunderclaps. That's just part of living in Dixie. It's got its good and it's got its bad qualities. This is April the 22nd, 2022, and this is the live imaging session of our star, where we have some pronounced solar flaring going on the surface, as well as, I hope, some regional movement of plasma. I really haven't been paying attention to see if there's anything happening, but I've been kind of concentrating on centering this. Keeping it centered in it. I'm having problems with that hard drive. It's creating some buffering issues, which is aggravating. What's going on here? Well, I'm going to go offline and figure out what's cooking with my hard drive, maybe make a switch so I can finish this time lapse, because it's locked up. And so with that being said, I hope everybody has a awesome day. I plan to finish it and process this, so I may do that online to show you how I do it. Y'all have a great weekend.